Hi Chris, how are you?
Good morning, Rod. Yes, I'm well. Here we are. It's episode 220. It's the 12th of April. So we're flying through April. And it's the first time we've actually spoken in, 2 weeks?
At least 2 weeks.
And the weather is sunny. And it was my fault because I went on holiday. And I'm now back.
Oh, I've got so many things to say. The weather is not sunny. It's intermittently sunny and absolutely smashing down by rain. There are some workmen who've just rolled up outside and are now going to start drilling at some point, which will make this fantastic. Who does that on a Sunday morning? I mean, have some humanity.
There is that. Well, as I think I mentioned before, I live by a big airbase. We may well get some planes going over. Who knows? But here it's beautiful. It's sunny. It's not the warmest, but it's fine. It's sunny. I can get out in the garden later.
I mean, we could briefly get into politics. I thought we'd stopped some of the flights from British/American bases.
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't know. I don't know what's going on, but there are planes, and some of them take off from time to time. I'm not really keeping an eye on it, but you obviously hear it in the course of the day when I'm working in my shed.
It's probably for the best. And how was your holiday? Did you have a nice time?
Holiday was all right. It was good. Very relaxing. Played lots of pool. Went in the pool. Read 4 books. So for me, the number of books I get in is a good sign because it means I've spent time reading and not in front of a screen.
That's very good. My story is different, as you'll find out when we get to the media section of this podcast.
Okay. All right, should we dive into follow-up?
Let's do some follow-up. So first off, and I had an internal battle about whether we count this follow-up or not, but I think we'll go with it. I think this is slightly horrifying development by Adobe. And
is Adobe Creative Cloud not in perpetual follow-up for being an awful product?
I think Adobe are just in follow-up for being an awful company, frankly.
Yeah.
So this is
They do make some good products, but their business tactics aren't great.
Do they make good products, or are people just hostage to the products that they make?
Possibly because Photoshop's been top of its game. I used to like Illustrator. I was annoyed when they bought Dreamweaver and they kind of killed it because I used to use Dreamweaver for building websites. I don't know if it still exists, if it's a product in their lineup.
I don't know. I mean, I think podcasters, a lot of them use Premiere to do a lot of their editing, particularly those who make use of YouTube. I think I probably see, because I keep track of this stuff, an equal sort of split between DaVinci and Adobe Premiere. Maybe Adobe Premiere slightly in front. And I know that the film industry uses them as well. Less Final Cut Pro, interestingly. But yeah, so we've skipped over the news story here, which is Adobe products modify the host file, which is sort of the major networking component on your Mac and on a Linux machine and on a Windows box, the host file, of what counts as your local machine's name, what it does when it hits particular websites, internet. And basically, they've put a line in there saying an Adobe Creative Cloud one, so you get different things served to you when you visit the Adobe Creative Cloud website than you do with other things. And this is bad from a security point of view. Programs you install should not modify the host file.
No, and I must confess, I'd completely forgotten that this file exists. So this is where you can go in there and you can go, if I type this address in, it goes to this IP address kind of thing. And I'd completely forgotten about it. So I used to use this back in the day, I'm sure. But it's not good. Adobe shouldn't be doing anything there. That's not what you call a good Mac citizen or a citizen at all if this was doing this on any piece. I don't know if they do this on Windows, but this is awful.
It's really bad. And no, we don't know from neither of us are, well, I'm not a Windows user in a serious way. I do use it at work, but I access it via a Mac, so that's a virtual machine I hit there. There would be no reason to have this installed on my work machine because I don't have Adobe products installed on my work machine, particularly in a virtual machine. You're not going to do much video editing in that, are you? But this is a poor show, and I think what we've seen from Adobe is a continual sort of sliding slope of what's acceptable through their subscription model, whatever you want to call it, through their holding people hostage for what files are within their cloud services, and now we see them do this as well. I think this is bad.
Yep, no, it's bad, and it's just yeah. I don't know. Most people won't care, but it's just be a good citizen. That's what we got to do.
Yeah, and there are decent alternatives now. All right, I know you've got to learn GIMP or something like that instead of Photoshop. Maybe that's something worth doing. It'll save you money in the long run. You've got to learn Final Cut Pro or DaVinci Resolve or one of the open source video editors. Maybe that's something you got to do. But whatever's keeping you there with Adobe, it's probably worth taking a good long look at yourself. I mean, fair enough. If your business is all you do is Adobe stuff all day long, of course you're not going to look anywhere else. But if you're sort of just glancing into it now and then for the odd use of a product, it might be worth having to think about this.
Yeah, I weaned myself off Photoshop years ago. I used to use it for basic image editing, and I moved to Pixelmator before it got acquired, and I was very happy there. It was a good. I was happy to pay for it. I just didn't want to get into Adobe locking, and that was actually a good choice. Now, if I want it, I'm probably in Apple locking, but c'est la vie.
Yeah, and I was in a similar position when my eldest daughter did her graphics A-level graphics design, whatever it was she did. I purchased the Creative Cloud suite, all of it. It was quite cheap. It was about 12 quid a month, I think, because it was an educational discount. And I fell into the habit of using some of them then. But I think I've talked about this in the podcast before when I went to cancel sort of 3 months into it and they wanted to charge me 900 quid or something for cancelling early. I was like, oh no, I'll just keep paying it, but I'm going to set a reminder in my calendar that I'm going to stop it right there and then.
Yeah, that's awful, isn't it? You just feel dirty. And hopefully this is all going to stop now because they had the court thing, didn't they? So it's good.
They did, but there's no result of that quite yet, is there, for the UK? It's fine in the United States, but anyway, I think enough about Adobe. We've given them enough media spotlight at this point.
Agreed.
Moving on, and this being a Verge article, it will go wrong on my computer any minute now. Apparently, Google has released a new product that makes it easy to deepfake yourself. So this is if you've got a podcast or some sort of video show and you want to generate like a little avatar of yourself talking in the corner. You take a nice little selfie, say some things to camera, and Google will help you out with that so you can embed a max headroom version of yourself in the corner of your videos.
Do people want this?
Well, they're getting it.
I thought what was quite good with YouTube on the whole, and I'm not a big YouTuber, and the same with podcasts, is you get to meet the person, learn about that person, their characteristics, and you form that bond, don't you? And you know what they're like, whereas this is going right against that.
But you could say the whole thing about that is the AI thing, isn't it? That, you generate some sort of response.
Slop. You generate some slop for some more slop to go and read it.
And if you think of the way Microsoft has gone with this, or Microslop as we should probably better call them now, although we've got a little story about that, they clearly went too far into this, and they've realized at some point that the market is pushing back just because you think it's a good idea, because you can see subscription revenue again, dropping on you from on high. The market isn't necessarily receptive to the things you want to give it. So, yeah, I mean, I can see why they're doing it. It's probably quite an easy thing for them to do. I did have a go once upon a time of doing the Apple thing where you read it some phrases and it would read your voice back to you out of the iPhone. Do you remember that?
Yep.
So Carrot Weather, for example, will still read to me in my voice-ish back out of my phone. It's a relatively easy thing.
Does that not freak you out?
Well, my phone's always on silent, so I don't hear it anymore. Occasionally I leave it. I forget it's not on silent because I don't wear an Apple Watch anymore, and it surprises me when it starts talking to me in my own voice. But I did it just to see what it sounded like, and it was not bad. And we could probably do it. Let's face it, how much audio and video is there of us on YouTube and on the podcast thing? Because we do a podcast.
It would be easy to do.
Yeah, we could be deep-faked instantly.
Yeah.
Just remember that if you've ever stood in a dock. It wasn't me, my lad. It was the deep fake.
No, I've seen some of this tech before because you can spoof people's voices and phone calls, and it is an attack vector for companies of, your CFO phones in going, you need to transfer this money to this bank account right now, and you need to validate it because you can't trust the voice anymore.
Yeah, scary stuff. Do you want to tell us a little bit about what Microsoft is doing as a pushback about Microslop continues then?
Yeah, so apparently Microsoft had put Copilot into Notepad, which is odd because for a long time they did nothing with Notepad. It kind of looked the same as it did 10 years previous. And they're dialing it back, so there's not going to be the Copilot icon. It's going to be a pen. They're not branding it Copilot. They're going to call it writing tools. And I was just checking that's exactly what Apple do. And you said Amazon for a minute then. When you right click in text edit and you want AI, it's called app writing tools, and so they've done that. I think they're just dialing it back because I think people every time they see the word Copilot, and I must confess, I think it's something I've got to pay for, and I think Microsoft's got this problem now. It is something you have to pay for in some areas, and it's not in others, and so they've dialed it back a little bit, which I think is a good sign. So hopefully we're going to see a little bit more of this, and it will be there, but it's just not going to be rammed down your throat, which I think was a massive misstep.
Yeah, I mean, we talked before about the number of Copilot brands there are within Microsoft, and it is very unclear as to which is what. And I just for the sake of the camera, I'm going to do this again. That the Microsoft's Office suite is Microsoft 365 Copilot. Why? Everybody knows what Word is, PowerPoint is, Excel. Why do you need to slap the Copilot brand on that?
Yeah, I don't get it. I use those products all day, every day. I don't use Copilot.
You've got that button that you can't get rid of in all of them, though.
I don't even know where it is. I haven't got the license, so I don't know where it is. But it does come up, obviously, Copilot from time to time.
It drives me crazy. So a fairly normal interaction I do is I do a lot of train travel with work. I take a screenshot of my train ticket, which comes in digitally to me, so I can have it in my photos. So when I go through an electronic ticket barrier, it's there. And the screenshot at the bottom every time says, open an M365 Copilot.
Wow, okay, I hadn't seen that.
Yeah, it's not good, and it drives me slightly mental.
Whoops. But it's good. Microsoft are dialing it back. This is good. Hopefully Apple will be doing something similar when they launch their AI stuff, or relaunch, should I say, their AI efforts, probably in the summer at WWDC.
I guess we'll see. Somebody else that's doing something with AI is Marco Arment. He has embarked on, if you've been listening to ATP, a whole sequence of buying Mac Minis just so we can have transcriptions of podcasts in Overcast. So Overcast is an app you and I both use, I think, still? Yeah.
I've used it from the day it came out, and I've not moved away. I tried once or twice, but I love it. I'm wedded to it.
Yeah, I had a bad experience where it decided it was going to stop downloading podcasts to me a few weeks ago. So that was really annoying. You want your latest podcast to drive to work in the morning or go out for a walk or whatever, and it's not there. And then you always find you're in an area of low signal as well whenever that happens. So you can't just start streaming it or downloading it or something.
Oh, so infuriating, isn't it?
However, Apple Podcasts has still been sat in the background downloading, for some reason, a couple of the podcasts I like. So I actually had to use it. Fine. I mean, I don't trust it either after the big downloading incident of about 2013, I think, whatever it was. Anyway, Overcast now has a feature where if you speak a couple of languages, I think it's like 2 or 3, like German or Spanish or something like that, and English, it will sit there in the background and has transcriptions of every podcast. And the way Marco did this was he bought something in the region of 25, 26 Mac Minis.
I was going to say 48, but I think that's wrong.
Yeah, he bought a lot of Mac Minis just because of the Apple speech model that's on there, and he farms it out to that, and he's found some data centers that he can put these into. And all of that is to say you can now have transcripts in your Overcast, and it was in public beta for a little bit, and now you can get it. And I don't know if you've used this feature.
I've taken a look at it. I think because it's new and I have to get some new stuff, it takes me a little while for it to become sticky, if you know what I mean. For me, I think the biggest issue with it is when you're looking at the album art, you have to scroll right once to get all the links in the chapters and then right again to get transcripts. He should have put it to the left of the album art, in my opinion. So album art's in the middle, you go one way for transcription and one way for the notes and everything else. I think he's done a great job. I thought when he first said he was going to do transcripts, it was all going to be on device. But he's gone and crawled all the feeds and churned through them with these Mac Minis, and he just bought the basic Mac Mini, churned through them all, and managed to do the whole thing. And I think it's quite interesting. It sounds like he's going to move a lot of the back end to using Macs, because the company he used to use got bought, and I think they've been bought by a company he doesn't like. So yeah, it's quite interesting what he's done here. Quite ingenious. I'm sure over time you'll need less Mac Minis as the chips get better and better. But fair play, it's quite a cool way of doing distributed compute.
I mean, Marco is a developer of a level that I can't even get my head around in some ways for all the things that he does, and his history with Tumblr and the way he's developed Overcast over time. So absolute props to him. And he's obviously made a lot of money out of doing it as well. I do, however, think buying a bunch of your own Mac Minis to sit in somebody else's data center that is mental, particularly the way he seems to be managing them anyway, I won't get into that. But that seems like quite a lot of expenditure. Let's say it is only 30 Mac Minis, with enough RAM, blah, blah, blah. That's quite an expenditure. You've got to keep them running. You've got to pay networking fees. You've got to pay the data centers to host them. You've got to do backups. The expense for that is large. And it boggles my mind slightly that that's the right way to do it. Were it me, I'd be thinking, how can I do this on device? How can I crawl these feeds on device and make use of some sort of iCloud backend or something like that to save myself a bit of money? But he does like throwing money at a problem.
How many people are subscribing to Overcast for this to become viable? Must be a lot of people. I mean, fair play. I quite liked it. It was a good segment on the show. Yeah, I thought it was good.
It's interesting. From an enterprise point of view, with my enterprise IT hat on, I think it's madness. But from it's quite cool how all these things come together, and how it's interesting how other people look at a problem, isn't it?
He's tackled it in a very clever way. Fair play to him. But it's cool. We now get transcriptions, and this is just like version 1 of transcriptions. There's going to be more to come. Yeah,
it's a great app that I've used, almost daily for the last, I don't know, however long it's been out, 15 years, something like that.
Yeah, I must confess I've used it for a long. It came out just before iOS 7.
Yeah, that'd be about right. Yeah, so well done, Marco, and well done for transcripts in there. If that's something you were looking for in your podcast app, I haven't changed my behaviour yet. Mostly because I listen when I drive, and it's not the time I'm going to be looking at transcriptions.
Mine's walking a lot, and to be honest with you, when I'm walking, my phone's in my pocket. I actively try not to look at my phone, but I guess it's nice to have it if you want to follow along or check what somebody said.
Totally. Somebody else that's checking what somebody's doing are some NHS staff. We've talked before about how NHS England is basically selling all your data to Palantir, or giving all your data to Palantir for a certain amount of money. And some staff are pushing back, and they're saying they're refusing to use Palantir's software. And I think that's fantastic.
It is, but it's kind of after the horse has bolted, right? Because we've already spent the money.
Well, they didn't. They weren't involved with these choices. This would be NHS executives who've decided that they're going to make use of Palantir software in order to optimize whatever it is they do with patient healthcare data. And I think there's lots of reasons that's problematic. And I have heard beyond this article, which is from the Register a couple of weeks ago, 3rd of April, there are some NHS organisations that have point blank refused to engage with Palantir. So I think the Northern Care Alliance, which is 7 or 8 large hospitals in the north of England, have just, including Manchester, have just gone, absolutely not. We're not using Palantir software. We're not going to centralise our services back into NHS England to do this until this is sorted. And you see that kind of thing growing, and I think as anti-big tech sentiment grows, I mean, there's a lot, even before anti-big tech sentiment became a thing, this is problematic that a sovereign nation is giving its healthcare data to an organization like Palantir. And I'll say this again, if your company is based on the evil orb things from Lord of the Rings that Sauron used to watch you through, you've got a problem. You've got a marketing problem right there.
Wow, that took a turn. And I'd agree. And this is a £330 million contract. That's an insane amount of money. We've spoken about Palantir before in the NHS. It's just, it shouldn't have even got to this point, but it just goes to show that people are aware and they don't want this.
Yeah. And this is people on the ground. So this isn't the executive. This is doctors and nurses and staff who work with patients. And if they're uncomfortable with that, that sentiment has got to go up. And we have had a couple of articles about how the government is apparently looking at these contracts. But we've seen how this has gone with Fujitsu. You know, we won't use Fujitsu again. Fujitsu are still getting, you know, after the Horizon scandal. So I'm with you. I think that, you know, the stable door is open and the horse is not only bolted, but is probably having other little horses out in the field somewhere.
Wow, okay.
Just a thought.
And on that note, I think we should move on to do the news.
Let's do the news then. So first up, and in news I'm very much behind, and Vive la France basically, the French government, which had already moved some of its estate in terms of the gendarmerie. So the gendarmerie is, I suppose you'd call them the police, but there's some sort of vague military affiliation there as well. They've several 100,000 desktops, possibly several million desktops across France, where they manage criminal activities, staffing, all that kind of stuff on Linux desktops. They made a decision to move away from Windows, getting on for 10 or 11 years ago now. So it's a well-established thing. They use Gendbuntu, so it's a flavour of Ubuntu, flavoured with a gendarmerie, and you know it's obviously worked extremely well for them. France has always been quite aggressively, what's the word I'm looking for? Independent. They like to do their own thing. They make their own
100%.
You know, they make their own weapons, fighter planes. They protest against their government. We've spoken about them protesting against motoring laws before now. Let's face it, they've had a couple of revolutions too. So you know they're quite good at pushing back against things that annoy them. Anyway, the rest of the French government is transitioning its desktops to Linux with a plan for implementation by autumn 2026. I think this is incredible.
No, it is good. And I do wonder if there's going to be more scenarios like this where, you know, countries take a flavour of Linux and make it their own and start optimizing it for how they want it to roll out so that they've got more ownership of it. It's kind of a way of owning your own operating system, isn't it? So fair play. They've had a strategy and they've executed on it and they've got there. And
in fairness to them, to have done it, you know, almost tried it with gendarmerie to begin with to see that it will work in a large governmental organisation. They've obviously done well. I mean, if you think about how a couple of the famous ones failed in Germany, you know, 10 years ago or something like that, they failed because they were sort of slightly ahead of the curve. That the training of users to use it, IT to support it, sort of expectations when you're transferring files outside of your agency into other agencies that still make use of more proprietary formats wouldn't have worked. Now it's so easy to do relatively with web-based applications that it's actually a no-brainer in many states to be able to do this. That as long as you've got the back end and you've given your users, instead of clicking this, click that, it's not going to matter. If most people use Chrome and you install Chrome on a Linux desktop to get at their apps, and as long as the shortcuts are there, most people might not even notice.
No, I think that's fair. I think the key for me would be you've got to maintain it though. That's got to be, you know, it's that not just doing it once. It's investing in it year over year.
Totally. And, you know, we continually talk about the cost of getting out, and a lot of the back-end services that have come along with this have been planning to move to their own messaging platform. They have been planning to talk to their own, you know, document storage platforms and all the rest of it. So those pieces are in place. And I agree with you. This isn't right, tomorrow everybody has a Linux desktop. you've got to plan for that. You've got to support it, and you've got to be able to. What happens if the managing director's PC goes bang? How quickly can you have another one on its place, or the bin man, or whoever it is? Is it all backed up? What's your business continuity plan, and all the things that go along with it? But let's face it, they have the experience of doing this now in at least one governmental agency. You don't change it tomorrow; you roll it out as you do with any IT resolution. So I'm watching this with interest.
No, agreed. I think it's quite cool, and I wouldn't be surprised if there's more of this.
Yeah, I think this is the beginning of a wave, particularly in Europe, where, again, I think the pushback for digital sovereignty is only becoming more important.
Yeah, I completely agree. It's not going to go anywhere quickly, is it?
Speaking of things that won't go anywhere quickly, some mad lad, absolute mad lad, has managed to get macOS X running on a Wii, and that's something I never thought I'd expect to say.
Is it macOS X or macOS 10?
Well, I just read it as it was, but you're right to correct me.
No, do you know what? I always called it X as well because I say what you see. But Apple used to call it 10. No, this is crazy. I mean, a bit of a strange project to go into. But yeah, macOS 10 is running on a Nintendo Wii for some reason. So pretty cool. I guess it's just one of those projects that somebody else who had the urge to see if this would work.
Yeah, you do it because you can do it as much as anything else. And I think this is pretty cool. I mean, we've had Wii games running on Mac for a while now. There's a couple of Wii emulators like Dolphin and things like that where you could run Mario 64 should you be able to find the right ROM that fell off the back of a truck. But bringing this the other way, I just think is very cool. And I did hack my Wii back in the day to have it be able to run other things. So I could run like Sega games on it and all that kind of stuff too. So the Wii was quite a hackable console.
Yeah, I can't. I was just trying to think. Did I do anything with mine? I don't think I did. I think I've still got a Wii up in the loft somewhere, but maybe I should get it out for the kids. They might quite enjoy it because nothing's really replaced the Wii, has it? In how cool it was for family games. We've never really had that again. I know we've got the Switch now, but that's kind of gone the other way in that people play more solo, handheld, whereas the Wii was fantastic. I love that the picture of this article says the Wii on an aeroplane for some reason, which just blows my mind. Like, that's quite a lot of gear you've got there. You've got a laptop and you've got a Wii and you're running OS 10 on it. So fair play.
It looks like he's got an external hard disk off to the side here as well. So, there's quite a lot going on there.
If you were on that plane, right, and you weren't an IT person, you look to your left and there's a person there with a Wii and all this tech and a hard drive, would you not be a little bit like, well, what are you doing? Are you trying to blow up the plane? Do you know what I mean? Like, it would raise some concerns with me.
I do quite like this, though. I mean, that's classic macOS right there, isn't it? I mean, look at that Word icon and everything that's going on that screen.
Well, that's 10.0, isn't it?
10.0, that running on a PowerPC G3 with 7.8 megabytes of RAM. Fair play.
No wonder macOS 10 or macOS, whatever it's called these days, runs so well on a MacBook Neo.
Absolutely. I'd just like to point out, thus began the process of porting Mac OS X 10. So if you call it 10, you're calling it Mac OS 1010 as opposed to Mac OS X 10.
Agreed. It was always dumb, but agreed.
Should we talk about space?
Let's talk about space. Why wouldn't we?
Well, I'm a bit conflicted about this. I think space stuff is super cool. I'm all over the Apollo stuff. I love Gemini. I love For All Mankind and, anything related to space. This whole thing has left me a little bit cold, though. I think it's my lack of engagement in the United States at the moment. What they've done is incredible. What this crew has done, everybody that's got them in orbit, the fact they've gone around the moon, all of it is phenomenal, but it hasn't engaged with me in the same way that this stuff would have done once upon a time. And I think that's really sad that the current administration in the United States has managed to put me off space.
Yeah, I mean, in one hand, somebody posted this on Mastodon, I'm going to mangle it, but in one hand, we're showing how beautiful Earth is and all the wonderful things we can do, and then on the other hand, with the same government's trying to blow it up. So it is a bit conflicting at the moment. I think it's been quite cool. We were on holiday. We watched some of the launch whilst we were on holiday on a very laggy TV because the hotel just couldn't cope with the, I guess, people using the televisions in the rooms. But it was cool to watch, right? And it's been quite a cool story. And it's mental that it's been 50 years or so since we've last been into space. It just seems crazy that it's taken that long.
When you're in space, though, you still got Microsoft Outlook. When you're in space, Outlook can hear you scream because one of the crew, Commander Reed Wiseman, didn't ask Copilot for assistance, but he did ask Houston for help. And why has he got 2 instances of Outlook running, and why wasn't he getting email in either of them? And I just think this is incredible.
Surely space is the one place you should be able to go and not get email.
Well, I mean, they took iPhones with them as well, although they were in space mode. No, not airplane mode.
Yeah, it's like turbo aeroplane mode. We can talk about that in a sec. But why do they need email in space? I guess they've got to send stuff. But it's interesting, isn't it? You thought out of all these like custom distros of Linux we've just been talking about, you thought maybe NASA would have had their own like version. I don't know. But if anybody was going to do it first, you'd have thought it'd be NASA.
Yeah, and it seems like a massive own goal to me for Microsoft to immediately have an issue as soon as you take off. I mean, I know when the Apollo was landing on the moon, they had was it 1304 alarm or whatever it was, because you kept getting some sort of memory overrun within the machine on the NASA on the Apollo lander. But yeah, I wouldn't take Outlook to space with me.
I love that they're going to remote in and fix it, though. I would love to see what the latency is like on that. But so this is not a great advert, is it, for Microsoft here? Like, Outlook's rubbish. And if we flick onto the next story, we're then going to go, Apple's amazing. We're taking these photos from space on our iPhone 17 Pro Maxes. What a cool advert for Apple. And I don't think Apple provided these. I think NASA went out and sought these independently. And then obviously it's great for Apple because it managed to turn this into, great ad campaign. Interestingly, you've just scrolled down to the bottom as well. They also had Nikon D5s, not the Z ones, but the big DSLR, which I thought was interesting, and they're not using the Z9. So great photos, love it.
I've got to say, I mean, the iPhone photos are good, but those Nikon D5s are beautiful. The moon with the Earth in the background is just an absolutely stunning photograph.
I was just looking to see if I have my Nikon here. I'm a big Nikon fan, so I was always a Nikon purchaser.
Yeah, my last Nikon DSLR was a Nikon. I haven't, because iPhones are just in your pocket, right?
I do have a couple of cameras, but I barely use them because your iPhone's in your pocket, as you say.
Yeah, it is. Do you want to tell us about Meta?
Not really.
Well, you put the story here, so you can.
I know, I'm joking. So Meta... again, under the spotlight, and not for any good reasons, as you'd expect. Apparently, an ex-employee downloaded 30,000 photos, like people's private Facebook photos. Like, how was he or she, I think it was he, allowed to do this? And it's going to court and stuff. They were arrested back in November. But 30,000 photos. What was this person thinking? But how did they not have checks and balances in place to stop this kind of thing? You'd have thought a company of that size, handling all that personal data, that they would have mechanisms to stop this. Or at least if you did 10 photos, it would flag, or one photo it would flag. But to do all 30,000, absolutely awful. So lo and behold, Meta is living up to our expectations of it as a company.
Yeah, I mean, this isn't surprising that we think they're a terrible company. And it's not fair to brand all the employees with the same brush, but having the odd terrible employee, I mean, every organization's got terrible employees, but I think Meta maybe has a slightly higher percentage of terrible employees than others.
The problem is they have a terrible CEO, and it kind of stems from that. And I have problems with this because I love the Social Network movie. I thought it was fun. I like a David Fincher film. I thought the film was fantastic. But what Facebook ended up becoming, it's nothing I stand for, and I just don't like it. And I think it comes from the top down.
Well, there's a sequel coming, I think. They're trying to write a follow-up to the Facebook movie, I think, with the same writer and director.
David Fincher and the guy who wrote all the good stuff. What was his name? I can't think of his name.
The guy who wrote all the good stuff.
Didn't he write like A Few Good Men and stuff?
Yeah, you've derailed me now. I was going to go somewhere else with my point there about Meta. Oh, yeah. I mean, Meta, not a great company for lots of reasons. If you think of all their position on downloading and pirating all the things. I see you with your hand up, Chris. I'm just going to finish my point. They downloaded all the things and said, well, this is perfectly fine. It's all right for us to do this to train our AI. In the midst of that, one person downloading 30,000 images probably just went to one side.
Yeah, true. But they should have controls for this. It's awful. What else are people downloading that hasn't been caught? That's what worries me. Yeah. The person I was thinking of was Aaron Sorkin. He writes all the things, doesn't he?
Aaron Sorkin writes some of the good things for sure. Yeah, I mean, Facebook started because he wanted to rate girls in his class, though, right?
Yeah, apparently so. I thought the film was good, like I say, but I just think their culture, their policies, their beliefs just really struggle with it.
You saying a Hollywood film doesn't reflect reality, Chris? I'm shocked to hear you say that.
No, true. The film was so good. I like a David Fincher.
It was good. The music was good. I liked the Nine Inch Nails soundtrack. Well, it wasn't Nine Inch Nails. It was Brent Spiner and Thaddeus Ross, possibly. I think so.
You may well be right. But they then collaborated with David Fincher on a whole bunch of movies. The Girl with the Dragon Tattoo, fantastic soundtrack.
Atticus Ross, not Thaddeus Ross.
That's it, Atticus Ross. Thank you.
Yeah, my memory does occasionally work. Do you want to tell us about Max crashing?
Yeah, so on Tahoe, stupid bug. After 49 days, 17 hours, 2 minutes and 47 seconds, your Mac will crash apparently running Tahoe, because this is the maximum amount of time you can have in a 32-bit unsigned integer, and it can't cope with it. And John Gruber also commented on this. He goes, what's interesting here is this whole code is like 5 years old, but this one file has been updated really recently, like within the last few months. So your Mac will randomly reboot after 49 days of not being rebooted, which is just what a rubbish bug for Apple to have. Apple used to be the pinnacle of uptime, stability, built on Unix, and they've managed to introduce stupid bugs like this, which kind of shows where we're at with it.
Well, I said last time we met that my daughter's MacBook Air had been on continuously for more than 3 years.
So if she had upgraded to Tahoe, that she wouldn't, A, she would have lost it anyway because of doing the upgrade, but B, she would have lost it because it would just randomly reboot after 50 days.
Well, she upgraded yesterday. I finally, so it was on for another 2 weeks beyond when we spoke last time. But she's going to face this bug now.
Wow. Okay. Hopefully they fix it, but this is a stupid bug for them to have.
Yeah, and they should stop external files providers modifying the host file as well. I mean, there's reasons for users to do it, but never reasons for programs.
Agreed.
And last but not least, Macs are beginning to become sold out, and I think this problem is only getting worse. So the Mac Mini and Mac Studio configs are completely sold out, are out of stock at Apple. This is being traced back to people like Marco Arment buying all the Mac Minis, but more seriously, people running LLMs and things like Claude Code on their local devices. I wonder if it is all that. I wonder if it's a little bit of Apple gearing up for M5 Mac Minis and Mac Studios, surely.
I was kind of thinking that. But I think I wonder if it's a bit column A, bit column B. I think it's Marco. He was buying the base model, like the cheapest chips one, which is probably what most people should buy. But it's interesting, isn't it? Apple normally very good at supply and demand, but obviously maybe they are struggling, or maybe they haven't got the M5 ones out quite on the timeline they were expecting. But it does feel between now and WWDC that the M5 one's going to drop.
Yeah, I don't think they could have anticipated the sort of desire for running, like I remember Moltbot, Claudebot, whatever it was called. We talked about it on the podcast like about 3 months ago, how popular that would be with people trying to stitch all their agentic AI things together, their MCP programs together. And the Mac Mini is perfect for that. It doesn't use a lot of power. It's got a bit of headroom. It's got good memory performance because of the silicon on chip. So you can understand why people would do it. I mean, good. It'll be good for Apple. Their Mac numbers are going to go through the roof this year.
Like the Mac does feel like it's on it. I do wonder, are we reaching a point there where people are going to go, especially with the Neo coming out, actually I don't need a very expensive Mac? Is that average selling price going to massively drop because people are going, as much as I like a Pro machine, I don't really need it?
Yeah, I mean, they're killing the Pro machines as well. The Mac Pro having gone away is an instance of this. And how many people actually need an absolute top-end MacBook Pro or MacBook Studio? Not many.
Well, you and I have been saying it for quite a while, haven't we? I think that most people should just buy the Air, what was the cheapest book, because it's good enough for pretty much everybody. The Pro does have some niceties to it, so I wonder if they're going to, increase what the Pro can do, which I think we've got coming with the with potential touch coming later this year.
Yeah, I'm just going to try and configure one of these live, which is always a good idea, with a bit more RAM, 4 terabytes, 10 gigabit Ethernet. No thanks. No.
I mean, you and I are running Mac Minis, right?
Yeah, but we bought them when they came out. Where's the delivery? 9 to 10 weeks. We
did buy them when they came out, but wow, okay. So maybe it's a bit of column A, bit of column B. But we did buy them when they came out, but they are basically their cheapest desktop, and they're fantastic.
Yeah, I think it's an absolutely fantastic device. I don't switch it on as often as I probably should, frankly. But it does everything you want it to. It's nice and quiet. It works really quite quickly and all the rest of it. Where's the delivery in this? Right, 6th of May. So if you go for the bog standard one, then it's available a month out.
Yeah, which I'm not surprised by. You?
Once upon a time, you could have just walked into an Apple store and bought one. So there obviously is a bit of a run on them.
Either there's a run on them, or they're constraining it because on Monday Apple are going to drop new machines. Well, let's wait and see.
Yeah, I guess we'll see. Car Corner.
I'm going to be sad if they upgrade the M4 because I love my M4 and I don't want to have to buy a new one.
It's coming, and you won't have to. It doesn't become obsolete overnight.
I know, but there's that want.
Mad for
Car
me.
Corner.
Car Corner. No big trucks in the EU. Apparently, the EU is blocking imports of large trucks. And once again, as with many things with the EU, good.
Yeah, I'm cool with this. You see some of these massive cars, and we just haven't got the infrastructure for it. I'm sorry. I'm a big small car fan. I've got a tiny little Audi that I bomb around in. I love that car. And I'm kind of put off buying new cars because they're all a bit big.
Yeah. I mean, we have a real problem in this country, and most of Europe will as well, because we have roads that are quite old because they came from Roman roads and things like that back in the day. So we don't have the infrastructure or the parking spaces or really the desire to have such a ridiculously large car. And I bemoan the fact that cars are so big anyway these days, and it's put down to the fact that all the safety systems and airbags and yada 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 is what drives the size increase. And that's fair enough. Of course you want cars to be safer, but they don't need to be so large. They really don't need to be so large. And you look at an American truck, even compared to something like a Toyota Hilux in this country, and it's just vast. An F-150 is on a different scale.
Yeah, they're gargantuan. And I can see in America, you've got nice big roads. I can see the benefit of it. I really can. Because there I am trying to pile a dog, 2 kids, and my wife into my little Audi A1. And it's not roomy, but I love that car.
I mean, I think it's genetic to America, the big country and all the rest of it. And that shows in their attitude to things as well. Have you ever tried walking anywhere in America? It's really difficult. It's really difficult. Okay. Because everything is blocks and blocks away. They expect you to drive everywhere. They don't expect you to walk. If you're anywhere moderately rural, there aren't crossings. There are 2-lane or 4-lane or 6-lane highways that you're just expected to make your way across as a pedestrian. With a crosswalk, you'll be done for jaywalking if you do. I think the whole freedom stuff translates directly into the genetics of their cars, particularly their trucks. And that resistance to public transport, to walking, it's almost like you're impugning the freedom. And I may be conflating my metaphor slightly, but I do think there's something in that the value of the automobile is directly related to their national identity. And because they're the big country, they want the big truck to go along with it. And I think we're a bit more modest about it in Europe.
Yeah, and I'd struggle not be able to walk places. I'm a big walker.
Yeah. Should we do some media?
Let's do the media.
So I'm going to struggle with this right from the outset before I bring anything up, because you've put Rotten Tomatoes links in, which I tried to let past my ad blocker, but it really doesn't like it.
I've just changed them to Metacritic.
Oh, you, sir, are a legend. Rotten Tomatoes is aggressively against my Mac. So
when I sat down last night to do the links, I couldn't remember which one you wanted me to use. I don't know why. I should have just gone back and had a look at the previous show notes.
And Metacritic's not as good as Rotten Tomatoes in some ways, but Rotten Tomatoes ad blocker, even though I've allowed them, I've whitelisted it through my ad blocker, it's still not letting it come in. So anyway, let's do this. So first up, I went to the cinema a couple of times over the last couple of weeks, and the first thing I went to see was Project Hail Mary, which is the new Ryan Gosling film based on the book by Andy Weir. Previously seen Andy Weir's work on the screen in The Martian with, what's the director? Matt Damon and Ridley Scott.
Yeah. I was going to say Scott, and I was having a moment.
This is a terrific film. I thoroughly enjoyed Project Hail Mary. I'll just let the trailer spool away for about 10 seconds here in the background. If you've read the book, it's very close to the book. They've left out things for the sake of pacing that I think is just phenomenal, and it's just extremely well done, and I loved every second of it. It's a long film, though. It's almost 3 hours.
I must confess, I'm struggling to get to the cinema to watch a long film. I need to get back into it a little bit more, but I haven't been to cinema in ages.
This is a film that it behooves you to go to the cinema to see.
Yeah, I love the cinema and I love films, but I've just been rubbish lately. I do like the look of this.
It is absolutely fantastic. And I would point anybody who's interested at a thing called The Overview Effect, which is a YouTube channel. And this guy takes sort of the hardcore science fiction stuff and sort of applies real physics to them. So this is the overview effect, and it's time dilation visualized, and he actually talks about what would have to happen in the transit to Tau Ceti, which is where I think they go, if memory serves, within the film. I'll pop the link in the show notes, but you can see him working out, how much delta V you'd need to be able to do it, even with astrophage and all the rest of it. It's genuinely worth a watch.
Right, okay, cool. I mean, I love science fiction films, but I must confess some of the actual science does go straight past me.
Well, this is absolutely worth watching, I would say. So yeah, the overview effect, but the film's great. Get to the cinema, check it out while it's still in cinemas. It's worth seeing in a big screen.
Okay, that's good to know.
Moving on, I also got to see a thing called They Will Kill You, which I can't remember if I talked about liking the look of before. I'm going to be very careful with the trailer here, because it's red band, I think. This stars the actress that was last seen as Domino in Deadpool 2. She's excellent. If you haven't seen Deadpool 2, that's not going to help you. It also stars Annette Bening. Not Annette Bening. I can't remember the name. She's in... I tell you what, this podcast is degenerating into two old men going, what do you call this again? Last seen in Succession. She played the manager in Succession.
The manager?
Yeah. I'm going to have to look it up, aren't I?
Sarah Snook?
No, you fill in for a little bit while I do some Googling.
Did
you watch the trailer for They Will Kill You?
No, I don't know anything about this film at all. And the trailer came out three months ago, so it's been out a wee while. And you said you watched the cinema?
I went to the cinema to see this, yeah. Me and a bunch of the lads decided we would go and see They Will Kill You, which is, I thought was going to be like a John Wick style gun fu looking thing, but actually turned out to be a bit of that, just with some uber cool violence. I tell you who else is in it. It's Tom Felton. Last seen as
Draco
Malfoy,
and it's got Heather Graham in it, Patricia Arquette.
Arquette, that's what I'm trying to think of. And I meant Severance, not Succession. Oh dear, my brain's not working today.
Yeah, I was good. That's why I was confused when you said the manager, and I was like, "What's he on about?" No, the manager, yes, in Severance, fantastic. She's having quite a resurgence, isn't she, old Patricia Arquette? I think, to be fair, and Severance, fantastic performance. Cool.
So They Will Kill You. It gets exactly 50% scores on Metacritic, which is a little bit unfair. I think if you go in expecting an over-the-top, violent, gory thing designed for, a person of a certain mindset, you get exactly what it says in the tin. It's pretty cool. It's quite well done. The gross out humour stuff based on the extreme violence is quite funny. I thoroughly enjoyed it. It was short, it was snappy. When it came up with the UK warning about this film contains extreme gore, violence, sexual references and swearing, half the cinema went exactly what we were looking for. So yeah, it did what it said in the tin. I quite enjoyed it, I gotta say.
It's good. It's good. Like I say, I do wonder whether, I know the cinema's struggling, but we do miss that. Should we just go to the cinema for the evening? Yep. We just don't seem to do it anywhere near as much as we used to.
Yep. Crime 101.
So I watched Crime 101. This is on Amazon Prime. I don't know if it's in the cinema. It's Chris Hemsworth, and it got 68%, give or take. I think that's a fair score. It's got Halle Berry in it. It's fantastic. It's good. It's a really good film. I really enjoyed it. Would I give it more than that? I don't know. I watched on the aeroplane, and I enjoyed the aeroplane because I actually watched it all the way through, start to finish. Very few interruptions. It's got Mark Ruffalo in it as well. And I do fear sometimes Mark Ruffalo is a bit typecast as old detective guy. Do you know what I mean? He's played that role a few times now, but I do like him. I think he's good. It's also got Barry Keoghan in it. I don't know if I've said his name correctly. He plays a bit of the baddie. I thought it was quite good how they got the crescendo coming together at the end with, they had a good sort of climax to it, and then they rounded it off quite nicely. So yeah, I enjoyed it. It was, in some ways, people were liking it a little bit to Heat. Nowhere near as good as Heat. It's not good for a film to live up to that. So, but no, good enjoyable film. Wasn't too long, about 2 hours long. Would recommend a viewing.
I know you like Heat, so to even mention it in that revered company is probably pretty good going.
Heat is my favourite film of all time.
Yeah, it's all right.
That's my favourite film. I love it.
So, the Thomas Crown Affair, the original.
So, in Crime 101, they make reference to the Thomas Crown Affair. And I thought, I've never seen the Thomas Crown Affair. And I had it downloaded on my iPad. I've seen the new one, but I've never gone back and watched the old one. So I went back and watched the original. This had similar score to Crime 101. It obviously stars Steve McQueen and Faye Dunaway. And it's about a guy who is absolutely stinking rich, and he plans a robbery, basically, of a bank, just to see if he can get away with it. I guess he doesn't need the money. And it was good. Enjoyable. I like some of the direction on it. Like the way it started was a small square in the middle of the screen, and this guy's walking down the corridor, and as he goes down the corridor, the image starts to fill the screen. And they did lots of interesting cutaways where you'd have like 3 or 4 images on the screen, and then one of them would become the dominant one, of things happening in real time. It was just really cool. And this was made in 1968. I just think it had some real cool direction on it, just a bit different. A little bit slow in places, because you probably find that with older films that they hold the scene a little bit longer and things. But just really enjoyed it. And again, watched this straight after Crime 101 on the airplane. So I banged in 2 films on the way home because I ran out of books. So quite pleased with myself, because I've watched no films as of late, have I? So yeah, that was good. So I had up to the minute brand new and one from 50, 60 years ago.
Well done. I haven't seen either of the Thomas Crown affairs. I obviously know about them. I know Pierce Brosnan is in the more up-to-date one, but I haven't seen either of them. It's about a heist, right? It's a heist movie?
Yeah, heist, 2 heist movies, basically planned by a guy who has all the money, so doesn't need to do the heist, but does it for the kicks.
Fair enough. At some point I will watch them. I mean, I quite like a lot of the old Steve McQueen stuff. I think, Bullet is an interesting film. I agree with you about the older films holding a scene too long, or for a modern audience, they are a lot more, I don't want to say pedestrian, that makes them sound worse than they are, but like when I watched Lawrence of Arabia over Christmas, I felt that it was all just a little bit too long and needed a good sharp edit to sort of really sort it out. But then if you're trying to portray the majesty of something, you can understand why a director would hold that sort of shot for a little bit longer than maybe sort of a more modern take would allow. So interesting.
Agreed. And I think sometimes, though, looking at these Metacritic scores, it's quite hard when you're looking at a film that's 60 years old, because are people viewing it, are they rating it on today or what they expect today, or from the time that it was created? So
yeah, I will try and figure out Rotten Tomatoes. I think they give a fairer crack of the whip because there's critics you've heard from in there, but we'll stick with this for now. I watched Wake Up Dead Man last week, actually, which is another Glass Onion film. So if you watched any of the Rian Johnson films with Daniel Craig in them, where he plays Benoit Blanc.
I think you mean Knives Out, don't you?
Knives Out. The second one was called Glass Onion. The first one was called Knives
Out.
Yeah. They've all been terrific. They're all murder mysteries. Benoit Blanc comes along and investigates a seemingly impossible crime. This is the third one. I found this quite interesting. It's got a great cast. It's got Daniel Craig, obviously. It's got this gentleman here in the freeze frame at the moment who played Prince Charles in The Crown, if you watched The Crown. You may not have watched The Crown, of course, but in which case that's going to mean nothing to you. But he's an English actor. He's also in Challengers with Zendaya. I'll find his name now. Josh O'Connor. He's terrific. But the cast is great. Daniel Craig, Josh O'Connor, Glenn Close, Josh Brolin, Mila Kunis, Jeremy Renner. It's the usual sort of gallery of phenomenal actors. Andrew Scott, and I'm trying to find the guy. It's got Jeffrey Wright in it. It's a phenomenal cast, well done, and Rian Johnson is really, really good at this kind of stuff. Daryl McCormack, who you can't see here, is an actor who's popped up on a couple of things. He's an Irish actor, I think, who's popped up. He was in Peaky Blinders and a few other things recently. He's a terrific actor. I thoroughly enjoyed this. I like a bit of a murder mystery. I like Daniel Craig not doing Bond. It's worth a watch.
Yeah, I've watched the other 2. I should probably check this one out. Actually, I enjoyed them. I think it's good. So far, it's been a good series. Yeah,
good scores. It's a good mystery this time. Everybody's having a whale of a time. Glenn Close is terrific in this film. I mean, all the actors in this are kind of at the top of their games. It was nice to see Jeremy Renner again after his accident, actually. It's a terrific film. Check it out.
Okay, I'll put that on my list when I next get Netflix. But that's quite a sentence.
And the other really interesting thing is, quite a lot of the time you have British actors like Daniel Craig, Josh O'Connor, and the other chap I just mentioned, doing American accents. And it's clearly in Britain they filmed it because it's a British church that it's filmed in. So it just amuses me no end that you've got Brits pretending to be Americans in Britain.
Yeah, okay. It's come back around.
It has come back around. Another thing about Project Hail Mary, they clearly filmed quite a lot of that in the UK as well.
Oh, okay, I didn't know that.
Yeah. I'm going to rate, and last but not least, for the films that I've watched, is I finished my Bond watch. So I watched No Time to Die 2 weeks ago, I think, as well. So that is the Bond films from start to finish done, and I'm very proud of myself.
What did you think?
I look at them a lot more fondly than I did. I think I was very, very harsh, particularly on the Brosnan films. Craig was terrific. Quantum of Solace wasn't quite as disappointing as I remember. This was tolerable. I think the Metacritic reviews are again sort of in the 60s. I think that's fair.
Yep.
Skyfall's not quite as good as everybody says it is. Casino Royale was terrific, but my overall impression is, and I think I've said this last time we talked about it, the Bonds are great. All of the Bonds are great. Even George Lazenby was a terrific Bond. The script,
I like that one.
Yeah, but it was a terrific movie. I think you're only as good as your script, and the scripts, particularly for Roger Moore, let him down. When he was allowed to be a good Bond, if you think of something like Not View to a Kill, but For Your Eyes Only, Why are you
I
making
love
that
you
face?
to. Love you to a kill.
But it's a terrible film. It's a terrible film because the
Love
script
it.
is awful.
I love that film.
That balance between campy gadgets and realistic spy stuff is too much the other way. Yeah, it's got Christopher Walken in it. Yeah, it's got all sorts of Grace Jones in it. It's a terrible film. It's not Roger Moore's fault that it's a terrible film. He's a bit old for it, maybe, but it's a terrible film. Whereas, For Your Eyes Only, it's just a great rollicking action movie. You know, it's really well done, and that is the pattern. I mean, I love Sean Connery. For me, excuse me, Sean Connery is the best Bond because he's original, and of course he's Scottish. But you know, the best Connery film is From Russia with Love, without shadow of a doubt. And it's probably the one people watch the least, but it's the best film. It's got the most spycraft in it. I think it's the truest to what it would have been. Whereas Goldfinger is the thing that's held up as the Bond film because it's got the gadgets and the lines and the girls and the stupid names and all that kind of stuff. From Russia with Love is a terrific film. And I think that's my understanding, is that the Bonds themselves are great, but they're just let down by some dodgy scripting sometimes.
Okay, fair enough. Fair play to you for doing all of them.
Why, thank you. I think next week, if I remember to talk about, we're going long this week, Chris. You can tell we haven't talked to each other for a couple of weeks. I'm going to fly through these. I'll let you have a one-word comment. Taskmaster is back. Yay.
Yay. Need to watch it.
Race Across the World is back. Yay.
Watch both.
So have I. The other Bennett sister I've just started having a look at, which is Jane Austen. It's not the well-known story, but the sort of sister that gets left behind in the Jane Austen thing. I've quite enjoyed on the BBC. For All Mankind is back. Yay. 3 episodes of that.
Yay. Haven't watched it.
Last One Laughing is something that sort of passed me by when it was on Amazon a while back. Is actually really funny, and I want to talk about that in a bit more detail.
Not seen it, but like you, it passed me by, and it's circled back around, and that looks quite like I might enjoy that.
Yeah, if you like a British comedian trying to make another British comedian laugh, I think it's worth a look at. And the second season of Daredevil Born Again has appeared on Marvel, and that's really good too. So a whole bunch of stuff in the watching at the moment.
Wow.
Yep. Games?
Yeah, go for it.
You can tell neither of us are doing a lot of games at the moment because the game section is withering. But I just thought this was interesting that finally, how long has the Vision Pro been in the market now?
3 years.
They've just brought the Steam Link app. So if you want to play some Steam games on your Vision Pro, now you can do that.
It feels to me like Apple are doing some stuff in the background with the Vision Pro. Like they're doing something because we've got Steam Link. And they've now got F1 on there, obviously. And could you not have watched the space launch in immersive video? I think so. It feels like something's happening slowly in the background. I think it feels like they're trying to sort the content out.
Well, they really need to because there isn't any. And this alone, I'm not buying a £3,500 headset just to play games. What do I play? What do you play? You play Threes, I play Slay the Spire. I don't need a £3,500 headset to do that. Command
and Conquer remastered in this, though, would be awesome.
Yeah, but would it all look better on your 6K monitor?
It would. It is too much money, but it does feel like they're doing something, so they haven't completely given up.
Right, well, we have given up on the game section this week. Should we do a main show?
Yeah, let's do it.
So, this is all yours. Take it away.
So, I just thought, and I was thinking about this the other week when we were talking about 50 years of Apple, things we love. And then part of me was thinking about things that we loved, i.e. things that we used to use that disappeared over time for various reasons. And I just started this off, and I know you've added a few bits in, but just a few little things. I thought we should do like a whistle stop tour. And this is largely an Apple-based list, but I just thought it was interesting to see things that Apple did that have, like I say, that have gone away that we really liked, either at the time or kind of sometimes wish that they bring back maybe now. So, what did you think?
I think it's an interesting list. And as I was looking at your list, I definitely thought there's some things in here I'm going to disagree with you on, but I wanted to add some in as well, just about things that I feel we've lost, about sort of the passion of the company and all the rest of it. So I think it's an interesting sort of topic to sort of blitz through. I'm very fascinated why you've put Mavericks at the top of this list, though. So talk me through your thought process here.
So my first point was just macOS polish, right? And so I started off with, I've put Mavericks and Snow Leopard in as links. And if you scroll down just a little bit, we can see some screen grabs of Mavericks. I put Mavericks in because for me, this was the first one with the new name when we left the cats behind. It's one I remember coming out, and I really liked it. And it's probably the last time I really dug deep into a version of OS 10, Mac OS, whatever we're going to call it, before I started using it less and less and less, if that makes sense. Because there was a period in my life where I had to go Windows for a long period of time, and then I went iPad only. So that's why I've put this one in there, and it's one I just really enjoyed. And I don't know, I just thought it was really well rounded. It still had Aqua in it, but they'd smoothed a lot of it out. Just very enjoyable version for me of OS 10 before it got into all the names that I can never remember which one's which. And yeah, just really enjoyed it. And I thought it was good. I thought it was a good release. It was an odd name at the time, but a good release.
So this was 10.9, and I think the word you're looking for is consistency, even if it now... It's funny, actually, looking at it. To my eyes, it looks quite old now. If you think we lost the brush steel by this point, we'd lost the pinstriping by this point, but we still had that aqua lickable interface, as Steve Jobs called it. And this was sort of, I guess, the pinnacle of that, where it was consistent, it was kept together, and you felt Apple cared about the Mac at this point.
Yeah, and it had fit and finish and polish and system settings, system preferences looks nice, nice icons. Some of it was linked with the iPhone. They were trying to share some of the iconography and stuff. But I loved this version. Like I say, for me, it was very memorable.
Yeah, and it's got a lot of the things in there that we take for granted in Mac OS X now. FaceTime and things like that were just part of it.
Weirdly, Game Center's just popped up with the green baize look and feel that it had. So I put that one in, and then you probably don't agree with this one, but like I say, for me, it was just one that stood out. Like I say, it was probably my last big one that I really used, probably before 26, which is probably the latest one I've actually used the most in recent times. And then I also put in Snow Leopard because everybody remembers Snow Leopard fondly. This was probably the start of getting to Mavericks, of that consistent look and feel. Still had a few more Aqua items in there, like rounded buttons and lozenges and stuff. And this one I did like because it freed up hard drive space, if you remember when you installed it, because it didn't download all the languages and things like that. And there were improvements in it, but it was fantastic, and I really like this version. So
yeah, and this was the brush steel for people who want to look back on some of their Mac OS history. This is where the brush steel achieves its pinnacle.
No, that's not the steel look. The steel was more metal look than that. This was more just.
You look at that compared to what was in Mavericks. It was definitely much darker color.
Yeah,
that's sort of the ultimate expression of where that was going.
Yeah. So really like this version. And I look back fondly on it, and so that was probably more the classic OS 10 for me. Mavericks was more the later one. I just thought they were really nice versions of the OS. And do you remember in these days we'd get screen grabs of what was coming, and we'd pour through it all on the message sites and the forums. Whereas now you don't do that; you just install the beta and see what happens.
Yeah, which I don't know that I'm going to do this year. But after my experiences on my phone last year in Finland, I'm less keen on installing betas on my phone.
I'm not committing either way at the moment, but we both know I'm going to install it.
Well, it's not even up for debate, Chris. You will install it.
So as I was looking through these old versions, I then thought of Front Row. And I remember having an iMac G5, and it had a little remote that magnetically attached to the side of the screen. And you could push the menu button on the remote, or you could go to the applications folder, launch Front Row. And basically what this was this would go full screen, and then you could play music, podcasts, films, TV shows, basically like your Apple TV. And I kind of wish sometimes my Mac had this, because occasionally in my office here, I'll go and sit on the couch. And it'd be great to have a remote and just put on a movie. And I kind of miss that they did away with this, because it was quite cool if you wanted to sit back. And I'd use this quite a lot because at the time I was living at home with my folks. I had my Mac in my bedroom, and I would use it as my TV in essence. So I miss that this has gone away, if I'm being honest. I think it was quite a cool idea.
Yeah, I remember the white plastic remote that would come with the white plastic G5, and I think there was a later version that was magnetic. It would stick to the side of it, or was
it was on the G5, and you just put it on the side of the monitor. But I'd really liked Front Row, and it was a shame that it went away, because it was with us till 2009, so it wasn't around for very long. But it was cool.
Came in 2005 with 10.4, I think. First version release was October 2005 for macOS X 10.4. I never really got it. However,
But you were living like an adult at the time, and you had TVs and stuff, whereas I was, like I say, living in my parents' house, in my kid's bedroom, so my life was quite different to yours in 2005.
My second child was about to arrive in October 2005. She was a couple.
Wow.
She was a couple of months out at that point. But I didn't get this. I was like, why? Why do I need this? If I want something full screen, I'll just make it full screen. But putting myself in the I'm in a student bedroom thing, it does actually make a lot more sense that you do want something on the other side of the room, and your iMac was a perfect thing because it was a nice big high quality screen to watch something on, wasn't it? And as a university student, you pretty much only take one device away with you, so why wouldn't you be able to control it? So I get it from that thing, and obviously it became the Apple TV at some point. In fact, literally it might have been the Apple TV when we had an Apple TV.
Yeah, I can't really remember when the Apple TV came out, 2007. So this was a precursor to it. But I just think it was cool, and it's a bit of a shame it went away because it's something they could have kept around.
Yeah, so if this was killed in 2007 and the Apple TV came in 2007, that's where it went.
Yeah, it's a shame. But
as an aside,
cool.
I think having a remote with your Mac is quite handy. If you're trying to do presentations and things like that, it would have been super useful to have that remote, with a modern Mac. I remember they brought the Keynote remote to your iPhone or your iPod at one point. You were able to step through your slides with that. But why not just give us a remote with a Mac? It would be they don't like putting things in the box anymore, do they?
No, the box experience has got pretty grim. Next one, just very briefly, iSync. Do you remember iSync?
I do. It was terrible.
I used to quite like iSync because you could see what it was doing, and you'd have your devices there, and the little bar, the bottom would drop down. You get a progress bar. I used to like syncing everything to my Palm 5, which I've also put a link in for because this was of the time. I know it's all been replaced with our iPhones, but I was just looking longfully at Palm. Palm used to make some beautiful looking devices. There's nice metal devices back in the day, and it's a shame it all went away. But no, iSync was cool. I thought I liked it. It was a great solution compared to what you had on others.
I used to sync my Sony Ericsson mobile phone with iSync. I remember doing it, and there was a piece of software by a guy called Saling. There was Saling software that would do, I think it was contact syncing between iSync and the Sony Ericsson.
You used to have to buy like conduits and stuff, didn't you?
Yeah, I get your vague fondness for the fact that at least you knew what it was up to, because with iCloud you have absolutely no idea.
I think that's where I was going with this. It was more, it's a pain having to think, but it was more at least you could see what was happening, whereas there's just no mechanism to do that with iCloud.
iPod.
Linked to iSync, because I think we used to use iSync. I can't remember now. Or was it all in iTunes?
It was all in iTunes.
But similar concept. You're syncing all your data. I kind of miss the iPod. I put one link in here because apparently people are wanting the iPod back again, just to go out on walks and not have interruptions. And part of my brain was like, actually, that sounds quite good. Part of me wouldn't mind one of these. I kind of wish Apple would do like a one-off iPod that would work with Apple Music or something, and I could just cache some music to it, but just have it as an iPod. Whereas I think if you went and bought one now and you're using Spotify or Apple Music, I don't think you could put your music on it.
I wonder how many people have still got music collections to be able to sync their music collection to an iPod.
Possibly. I do regret not having any of mine, I must confess.
I've still got all of mine.
Yeah, I am tempted to start buying it back up again.
Well, I went through so much pain in the big rip when you and I were students together.
Yeah, we both did it.
I sat there with a Windows PC and just a stack of CDs, and I'd just feed all my CDs into it, while studying, because it would take like 10 minutes to rip a CD. It wasn't a very fast process. It had to do it. And I ripped them all too small. I ripped them all to 128, I think, and I should have gone bigger. I should have gone 256. But
space was a premium at the time, wasn't it? It's a different world now. So part of me wishes I didn't do it because I don't actually listen to that many different bands. And I could probably, if I was going to ever get rid of my Apple subscription, this would be the first leg. However, my kids use my Apple Music subscription a lot because we have the family plan. So it's probably one for when they move out.
I'm with you, though. I've also heard that the kids these days, they want the offline life. They want effectively a Walkman again, which is what the iPod was. The ultimate expression of the Walkman, where it didn't skip if you'd go for a jog with your Discman.
I'm there. I'm probably more unconnected than anybody, I think.
Interesting the way things are going. The pulsing sleep light.
So I just put this in there briefly. Do you remember when you shut the lid on your MacBook and the light would just do that? It would just pulse at you to go, I'm asleep. It was cool. And we don't really get those sort of flourishes anymore, and I miss it.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I have a related thing to that when we get to my sort of things I want to add into this blast of nostalgia. You've also put in slide to unlock.
No, go up one. I put the charge light on. Because again, when we went to USB-C for charging stuff, you didn't get this. Do you remember it was orange when it was charging and then it was green when it was fully charged? I just thought this was cool. And I remember this was I didn't have a metal book like this. I had an iBook, but you got it on the iBook and it was cool. Like you could just glance across the room and go, oh, it's not charged yet. I'll leave it a little bit longer. It was cool.
I don't know how well this will work because it's attached at the moment, but if you can see my Framework laptop here, it's got an orange light on it.
Got it on the side. Brilliant.
Yeah, right. it goes white when it's charged, so I know.
Why don't Apple do that?
I don't
And
know.
I know they brought it back with MagSafe, but if you're using USB-C, this was cool, and it died with USB-C, and it was a bit of a shame.
It is a bit of a strange one, isn't it? But I think their argument these days would be our battery's so long you don't need to worry.
This was a good feature. Why take it away?
I agree. I like the charm of it being back in my framework here.
I could have included the bit where you used to have the button so you could see how full the battery was as well.
I have included that.
Oh, sorry.
Slide to unlock.
Slide to unlock. Also, unlocking our phones isn't very exciting anymore. That first bit of and you just drag the slider back and forth. Do you remember this on your first iPhone? It was cool. Why did we lose some of this whimsy?
Because of Face ID would be the argument.
Yeah, possibly. But this was cool. But it went before Face ID. It went with iOS 7 because Johnny Ive...
Touch unlock as well, though. It went with that.
But it was cool. I just missed some of this whimsy and nice fit and finish that they used to do.
What, you mean you don't like slide to cancel timer?
Oh, that's all. The whole clock app is just rubbish. Isn't
it? Yeah. Mac apps.
So next up on my list was Mac apps. Like, there used to be a thing, wasn't there? Like a proper Mac app. And I've just used Coda here because I used to build a lot of websites and I lived in Coda. It was simple, but it was a Mac app. It looked like a Mac app. It felt like a Mac app. And there were lots of apps like this that you would just see as a Mac app. You couldn't get on Windows. So I was just disappointed that Mac apps aren't really, like a good quality Mac app is really hard to find these days.
I will see your Coda and I will raise you Delicious Library.
Oh, yes. I was trying to think of some more last night. You're right. Delicious Library. What an app. And this was probably went too far the other way. It was very scene kit heavy and stuff. But we just don't get really good quality real Mac apps that are so specific. Probably the Rogue Amiga stuff that we use for audio recording for this. And I use their sound source to direct audio out. But I just miss those proper Mac apps. Like, where having a Mac and you've got those great third-party apps that you'd spend good money on.
Yeah, I love Delicious Library. I was a huge fan of it, and people came to the Mac because they ran stuff like this. It was tentpole for the Mac as a platform. Now people might say it's the App Store, but I think the Play Store and the App Store are meh. They're more or less the same thing at this point.
They are, and a lot of apps are Electron slop or just web apps now.
Icons.
Yeah, this was my last point. Good icons. And I've used Instagram here, even though I'm not an Instagram person. But that Instagram icon in the middle is peak, I think, skeuomorphic icon. Like, it's beautiful. Do you not think? I love that icon. I think it's really cool. The depth they've got on it. Whoever designed that's genius. And I think we just don't get that anymore. All the icons are just meh.
I like the very first one. I think that the fact that
the first one's cool as well.
It's a recognizable sort of Polaroid camera to me. I like the sort of brand of color running through it, and I agree with you. The first three are. I mean, the second one's not great actually. It's a bit flat and uninteresting. But the first one,
I think the second one's good. If you hadn't seen the third one, do you know what I mean? So you've got the one that looks like a Insta camera, then you've got one that's like a full icon camera, and then the third one's just got a lot more depth to it.
Yeah. So the first and the third one are genuinely good icons. The second, fourth, and fifth, however, are dreadful.
Yeah, but all new icons are like you really don't see good icons anymore, and I think it's a lost art, and I hate it.
I know you don't mind the Microsoft icons, but I think the Microsoft Teams icon is one of the worst things I've ever seen. It looks like a taco. I genuinely don't understand. It would.
I like the 3D glassy looking icons, but for whatever reason, that's not what they put on the Mac or on the iPhone. But the 3D ones on Microsoft's website look way better.
Yeah. Speaking of icons, this is something that it hasn't got, well, it did go away and they brought it back, but proxy icons. So proxy icons, if you're not familiar with, and of course, Safari that I'm using isn't showing at the moment because I'm sharing, are the little things like if you're using Microsoft Word or LibreOffice or one of the other things, you'll have a little icon in the top of the title bar that looks like the icon for the app that you're using. If you click and drag that will actually copy that application into, and you can share things with it, or you can jump to it in the Finder. And I use it all the time, and it's one of the most useful. And they briefly took it away in a couple of versions of macOS. They took the proxy icon away, and in the article I've got here, you can see it's that sort of folder icon there in the top of the title bar. And I love it, and I use it all the time. And it's something I miss all the time when I'm on Linux or Windows, because it's just such a uniquely Mac thing to find your way around the file system. If you've got an open dialog on a web page where you want to upload something, you just grab the proxy icon in the document you're working to and you drag it to that, boom, and the folder location is copied. I love it.
I think it's cool, but this was just again Apple just removing stuff for the sake of removing stuff, and hopefully we're through that era now.
Yeah, I'm glad they brought it back. I think you have to turn it on in preferences to get it to work. I'm not 100% convinced, but I think you do. But whatever.
I think you're right.
Turn it on. It's game changer.
Agreed.
And it shows a level of care in the operating system that just many providers don't have. And I feel Apple did lose and are at risk of losing that again.
Yep, no, I completely agree with you.
Target display mode.
Ooh, good one.
Yeah, so this is something that we have lost as Mac users. If you had an old iMac or something lying around and it had a FireWire port or similar, you could hold down the T key when you start it up and it would turn a target display mode device, and you could share it with your laptop, another Mac next to it or whatever, and it made use of that really quite beautiful old Mac display that you had lying around, and I can't believe they've taken it away.
Yeah, that was quite cool actually. I'd forgotten about that.
It's a truly useful feature. I used to have an old iMac that was past its best, that I put next to my iMac Pro, and I had dual 27-inch displays, and that was phenomenal.
Same panel I got now, probably.
Exactly. That 14-year-old panel you've got now, exactly, that I could make use of for many years, and they disabled it. End of life for that feature. Why not bring that back? If you've got a current 23-inch iMac, why not allow us target display mode? If I've got an old laptop that's no good anymore, why can't I turn it on in target display mode and have that extended display?
Or even if you've got somebody coming over and they've brought their laptop with them and you want to use a bigger screen kind of thing, you could do that.
You could do that. I miss Steve Jobs.
Yeah, that's fair.
He was the life and soul of the company. He wasn't always a very nice man, I think it's fair to say. If you look at the way he treated his daughter Lisa, and the way he was reputedly with employees screaming and shouting at people, but he was a man with vision, and he was a man who knew what he wanted. And I think this Guardian article, which I found, is fascinating actually. He was a complex person of both integrity and suspect moral character, and I think that sort of picks him out beautifully. He was not a straightforward guy, but he genuinely made that dent in the universe because he knew the way he wanted things to be. And I think a lot of the decisions, and you should never really ask what would Steve do, but I think even though he was morally complex, I think he would have been ethically clearer on where the company was now than Tim Cook is currently being.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I think also what was really interesting, if you look back at the 2003, they introduced the G5 chip, right? 2006, we went to Intel. 2007, we brought out the iPhone. 2010, we brought out the iPad. Like that whole run, the amount of stuff they were just doing, and the Apple TV came in that time, and numerous other things. But they did all those things all at once. Whereas now, Apple, for a long time, had struggled just to get their stuff together. Yeah. So he was probably very challenging, but really charismatic when he presented. Really clear on the vision. I don't, obviously we don't know what he was like behind closed doors, but there are a lot of stories of him not being a great person, but got stuff done and really drove the company forward. What would the last 10 years have looked like if Steve was still at the helm?
I think you still needed the operations guy in Tim Cook because
no, 100%.
But I miss that drive from the company, I think, and I don't the muddiness that we have now, I don't think he'd have stood for. He had clarity of purpose. And yeah.
I'm not against Tim Cook. I think he's obviously operations. He did an amazing job, but he's not the charismatic figure you need at the top.
I am against Tim Cook because I don't like the way they've taken Apple in terms of all the ice stuff and the App Store stuff. And I'm not saying Steve would necessarily have been any better, but it would have been clearer what he was doing and not been so vague.
Yeah, fair.
You touched on this when you were talking about your charging lights, but I really missed batteries that A, were replaceable, and B, had little buttons on the side to tell you what state of charge they were in.
Yeah, that was cool, wasn't it?
Do you remember the PowerBook?
I think you had a button just on the side of the laptop, I think, when they became more integrated batteries.
Yep. But even before they were integrated, my titanium PowerBook had a battery you could pop out with a button on top of the battery, and you could press it and it would let you know the state of charge, and you could bam in another one as soon as you wanted. Phenomenal design.
Yeah, really good design, and we've lost some of that ingenuity, I think.
I couldn't find a screenshot of it, but I also missed the see-through Apple logo on your laptop when you'd open it, and the light would shine through the back of your computer and let everybody know you had an Apple laptop.
And this is where you see like a lecture theatre, and you'd have everybody lit up with all their Macs on their laps. You're right, that was cool, and I'd forgotten about that one. That was cool, and it was quite quite a playful bit. I think it's a shame we haven't got that anymore.
It was terrific, and I understand the argument. If you held it up to the light in a particular way, you could see the light shine through the Apple logo on your screen when it was on. But and it never bothered me. I liked my light up Apple logo.
Never once did that cause me any problems.
No, a phenomenal feature that we've lost. And last but not least, color. Now you're going to hold up your orange iPhone again in a minute, because you do every time I give you the chance to talk about color. So there is a little bit of color here and there in the line, but when the iMac G3 was a thing, and I really like this 512 pixels representation of it as it cycles through all the color, this was the company at their best. They were playful, they were interesting, they were making the most of what they had. They even had a thing called Dalmatian and Flower Power, for goodness sake. But give us back some proper color.
Yeah, I think we've had like 15 years of grey. It does feel like colours are coming back, but you often still don't see them. The orange iPhone and the blue iPhone I've seen loads of. I barely see the silver one when I see a 17 Pro. But no, I agree with you on this. Get proper colours back. And they did do it with the iPods for a period of time, but it's just been so disappointing, I think, the lack of colour.
Yep, I'm with you. That was a company at its whimsical best. And I loved that iMac. I really did. I mean, I had a Mac before the iMac came along, but that's the one that really sort of changed the world, really. That is the product that made Apple what it is today.
It just looked cool, didn't it?
It really did. And it had a handle on the top.
had a handle, had the little drive bay door.
Yeah.
The keyboard, you could push the power button on the keyboard and it turned the Mac on. Like, that's cool.
It was a cool product. A bit of Apple whimsy. App of the week.
Yeah. It was good, though, just to have that little reminiscence of things we've missed over the last 20 years.
Next week, listeners, two old men will be shouting at clouds, but yeah.
I think it's right to do it every once in a while.
I'm with you on that. App of the week, which is something we do once in a while. For those of you that use Windows and are used to the Alt-Tab behavior on Windows, it does a better job of it than the Mac does. It actually will give you a preview of the windows that are running when you do it, whereas the Mac's Alt-Tab literally just gives you the icons for what it is. It also doesn't work so well when you've got things minimized to the dock. This is a little app called DockDoor. It looks a little bit more like the Windows implementation in the sense you still get the icons across the middle of the screen, but you will actually see the windows attached to it. So if you're doing Command-Tab to go across it, you can then do Command-A to pick a particular window within that, and it will launch that particular window. And it will also give you previews on the dock, as you can see in the screenshot here, for what's left. It's free. If you want to give them a bit of money, you can, but it's worth checking it out. It's called DockDoor. I just quite like it. It's a nice implementation.
It's amazing how Command-Tab hasn't really changed since it was launched all those years ago. I can't remember which version, it was like 10.4 or something. We got Command-Tab, and it's pretty much looks the same today as it did then.
Yeah, it does, but this enhances it a little bit, and I'm a fan, so DockDoor.
DockDoor, okay. Well, I've gone with a book because, as I think I've already said, I've read lots of books. And I've gone with a Finnish author, Antti Tuominen. I'm not sure if I pronounced that at all correctly. But it's a really quick read, this book. It's about 200 odd pages, but it's all about murders happening around a company that makes stoves that you put in saunas, hence why it's called the Burning Stones. And it was just quite cool insight into a bit of Finnish world, and it was just quite a cool book, completely different to something I would have normally read, and I just really enjoyed it.
Well, that's very good. I mean, you mentioned the girl with the dragon tattoo earlier, and it's obviously in that sort of vein of that sort of Nordic, Scandi, murdery type stuff, so that's quite fun.
Yeah, less gruesome, I'd suggest, but it was just a really well done book, a little bit funny in places, and I want to try out some more books by this author.
Fair enough. I think we call that a show, Chris.
I think so. So if anyone wants to get in contact with us, Rod is at g5maniac@mastodon.scot. I am at _CGP at mastodon.social. You can watch on YouTube by going to wakefromsleep.com and click on the YouTube link, or you can drop us an email, wakefromsleep@protonmail.com.
Talk to you next week, Chris.
Cheers, Rod.